thank you all very much for being here this morning. Thank you for also at this early hour getting in your seats so quickly. This is great. I'm Bill Cole, the President and CEO of the Baltimore Development Corporation, and I sincerely appreciate this outstanding turnout today. I'm going to give introductions for the mayor when she gets off the elevator here. She's here. But I do want to recognize some folks who are in the room who helped make today possible, and acknowledge my fellow cabinet members who are with us today for what we believe to be a very important process. As you all know, the city is investing more than $1 billion thanks to a partnership with the state in our school system. That process, the 21st Century School Program, will require the city to dispose of, through a surplus property disposition, 26 school buildings. The properties are all owned by the Mayor and City Council of Baltimore and will be surplused over the next decade as schools become available. So the schools that we have here today are either already available or will be available in the near future. And we thought this process would be a unique opportunity to give the development community, particularly those that have done great work already in Baltimore, an opportunity to see these sites and ask questions of staff. I'd like to acknowledge Pete Hammond, the Mayor's Chief of Operations, who's here, along with Tom Stoser from the Department of Planning and his entire team. Everybody who's here from planning, raise your hand, please. All right, and then we have the entire team from the Department of Housing. Raise your hand if you're here from Housing. And then Kim Clark and my entire team at BDC are also here, so raise your hand if you're from BDC. We have Steve Sharkey somewhere. Steve is the Director of the Department of General Services. He's got several people from his team here. Steve may know the most about the inside of these buildings, or at least his team. So you can seek Steve out. And also I'd like to acknowledge Colin Tarbert from the Mayor's office and Tony Scott somewhere here. Tony's probably grabbing the mayor. Tony and Sarah from the Department of Planning were key in pulling this event together today. So what we're going to do after we have some remarks from the mayor, and we're going to hear from Humanum as well, I'm going to go through a very, very quick run through of each building through a PowerPoint. Many of you have already visited the stations, but the idea is that when we're done with the PowerPoint, to give you additional opportunity to go visit each station, take a look a little bit more closely at the sites, and then you can sign up on a list that will be used for tours for the process. At the end of all of this, we hope to be able to do a RFP process for the school sites. Probably not all at once, but over time we'll work with our partners in the city to do that disposition process. So with that, I would like to take a brief moment to introduce the mayor. When we were discussing internally what to do with these buildings, the mayor said, why haven't we gone out and talked to our friends in the community who are doing great things to see what interest they might have in reusing these buildings or doing something great in the communities in which these buildings sit using the property. And with that, we took that charge and pulled everybody together, and today's event happened. The mayor is somebody who likes to say when we're in meetings, just get it done. She usually doesn't say just. She just says get it done. So Madam Mayor, your team has collaborated in bringing this together. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Catherine Pugh.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Bill, thank you. I love saying get it done, but more importantly, it is how we do get it done. And I see these buildings as opportunity for development in Baltimore City. And one of the things I want us to get away from is waiting until we're at the end of the road. You know, these are buildings that are available. They're buildings that will be coming available, and we need you all to know ahead of time. And we need folks to take a look at them and say, what can we do with these assets that belong to the city that we can create opportunity? We could probably build housing, I don't know, build more communities, And they're such wonderful spaces, and I just think they represent great opportunity. But let me just share a few things with you all, why this is important. As I continue to look at how we move our city forward, it's what we all do together. And we're looking at everything from creating our own investment fund, I'm sure you all have heard of that, where we're not selling off our assets, we're capitalizing our assets. Because what I'd like to see us do in our city is take this opportunity to recreate neighborhoods that have been underinvested in for decades. And we can do this. And I said this to Mr. Braverman, who is running our Housing and Community Development Department, who I think is doing an excellent job. I said, our mission, Mr. Braverman, is to go out into neighborhoods and communities that we've not focused on for decades. And let's turn those 16,000, and you'll hear about those too, their opportunities as far as I'm concerned as well. 16,850 boarded up houses in 2010. 16,500 boarded up houses in 2018. And what that says to me is not that we're not tearing them down, we're not doing it fast enough. And we're leaving assets like this on the wayside because we're not thinking long term and we're not thinking ahead. And so for me, this is an opportunity for us to begin to think ahead about what we want Baltimore to look like. We want to increase the population in Baltimore City. And what I've said to developers and people who are living in the city, don't give up on Baltimore, because we certainly have not. I certainly have not, because I see a jewel, and I see an opportunity to change the city into what it can be. You know, I look at other cities where the private sector has come in and have partnered with the public sector, and communities are being rebuilt. Cities are where it's at. You know, in the next 10, 20 years, people are going to be moving back to cities, and you could see it. Millenniums get it. I mean, they really do. You can't build an apartment building or housing in downtown Baltimore fast enough because they want to live in urban environments. But what you're finding in some of these neighborhoods that have been neglected for decades, where we've left school buildings, where we've left boarded up houses, is people are moving away from those particular areas. But yet, you know, in some of those areas, you could have single family housing. And almost anywhere in Baltimore where you begin to build a neighborhood, you can see development taking place. You'll see those developments being sold quickly. Look at Hamden, what just happened over in Hamden. Building brand new housing, gone. So we could do that. So I hope you all are as excited as I am. When I look at these surplus schools, all I see is opportunity. And I hope that you all will see opportunity as well. When we get our investment pool together, we're looking for private sector partners. You know, we give you $1, you give us 5, or whatever. But my goal is to, I'm serious. My goal is to raise $200 million a year for the next 5 years, because we need $1 billion to transform Baltimore. We can do this, but we do it with those of you who are sitting here and those who will come, who understand that cities are the lifeblood of a state, of this state, this city is. And at the same time, we are the catalyst for growth and development. But again, it's how you all engage with us. So thank you, Bill, and your team for pulling this together. I know Colin was hanging in there with you, and Pete is here as well. But thank you all. Thank you for understanding how important this is for me, but how important it is for Baltimore. Thank you all for being here.
You got the friends and family discount on the 1 to 5 today. You know, we're in this building today here at Humanum, and it was picked on purpose because we wanted folks to see the real opportunity that comes when you have creative folks think about adaptive reuse. And with that, I'd like to thank Jeff Carroll for allowing us to be here today and introduce Jeff Carroll, Vice President at Humanum.
Madam Mayor, it's a privilege to have you and this group with us today. I think it's exciting that we're actually moving away from a policy of abandonment and punishment and into one of investment and justice. And we're doing that by doing these kinds of things and creating jobs as we do it. And it takes the private sector involvement to make that happen. You're in a building that was built at near the end of the 1800s, went into disrepair in 1975, and was finally rehabbed by Humanum in 2006 to 2009. When that happened, this neighborhood was still struggling in a big way. And some people would say East Baltimore has still got its challenges, and I would agree. But what I've seen happen even in the last 6 years in this neighborhood is overwhelming, with multiple partners coming in and making investments, not only in the rehabilitation of this fabulous building, and once it was built, it became sort of like a beachhead in this neighborhood, and it inspired people to say, hey, it can be done. We can actually bring these buildings back to life, and they can have a purpose and a meaning that drives health in a community. And this space continually gets used to promote the health of this community. But we're seeing it happen all around us now. You saw the Bugle laundry factories coming down. There'll be development there of a health center. The food hub is under development now. Hone is under development now. And when we see what a Rebuild Metro is doing in capturing houses here along Preston and Biddle, the dramatic changes here in East Baltimore that I believe in some part started with the impetus created by this particular adaptive reuse. I can only hope that the things that we see around us here become that same kind of anchor effort that many of you will engage in to have that kind of impact in those particular communities. And there are some fabulous neighborhoods where these are located and great opportunity exists. So I want to welcome you to Humanum. I hope that you get inspired being in this building, knowing what can be done. And if you haven't been through the whole facility, you need to come back if you can't do it today and go to the 5th floor and see what a fabulous space this really is, top to bottom, and what you could be bringing to communities around this city by your investment here. Welcome to Humanum. Thank you for being here.
Jeff, thank you again. Now I'm going to run you through a very, very quick presentation and give you an opportunity to see, as a group, what you see on some of these boards. I'm going to start with what is possible. This is a building that has been redone. Highlandtown Middle School was converted to apartments in 2013. It's a $30 million project. It's really fantastic space for those of you who have been in there. They repurposed the large open space into a fitness center, 6,000 square foot fitness center. Obviously, this is a very old school building, and they had high ceilings, which they took great advantage of. They created a party room, and the type of amenities you're seeing in the more modern apartment buildings, they're able to do this in a school building. It's been a very successful project. Again, that one was completed in 2013. This one's a little bit older. This was converted in 1990. Louisa May Alcott School was converted to housing for elderly. 44-unit apartment complex on Reisterstown and Keyworth Avenue. They did use tax credits for this, historic tax credits for this. It's a $4.5 million project, and I think they're actually doing some more there right now. And then we're going to get into the school sites that we have today. So this is the old Waverly, also known as the Venable Building. Sits obviously in Waverly. It was surplused in 2014. 3.3 acres, 30,000 square foot building, built around 1959. It is in a solid neighborhood with community anchors. You can see where the school is and the anchors that are around it. We have Hopkins, YMCA, and quite literally thousands of jobs within immediate access to this school site. Our next one is Ragna Heights, which is a 2.8 acre site. It's an 80,000 square foot building in relatively good condition. Solid building in a solid neighborhood. It's completely surrounded with homeowners and is close to Leakin Park, Edmondson Village Shopping Center, and the new Uplands development. So you get a sense of where that one is. You'll notice that this school is right up against a significant park system. The next one is the Mercantil Site. It's formerly the Waldorf School campus and is now directly across from the new Waldorf School facility. This is the smallest building that we have today, and it is just under 15,000 square feet. It's located in Cold Spring, Newtown, and it is near a whole bunch of other community amenities including Silburn, Sinai Hospital, and near the TOD development site at the Cold Spring light rail station. Obviously an opportunity for mixed-use redevelopment in this residential community. 3.6 acre site includes a pool and a tennis court. None of that would need to remain, but that's what's there now, and you can see where that sits. Again, it's a site that's very near a big park system. Next one is the Pender Hughes School in the Upton community. This is 3.6 acres on Fremont Avenue in West Baltimore. Building itself is not particularly special, but it does sit on a massive piece of property that is within eyesight of the metro station on Pennsylvania Avenue. And you can see it in the background, which is why we used the photo below. That's the building that sits at the end there. But within a block and a half of the metro station and the Avenue Market. The site is currently being used by the city as an overflow shelter, so we'd have to coordinate the timing of redevelopment of that site to make certain that we have another facility. But this obviously is a transit-oriented development site with opportunities there. The city has just invested several $1 million on Pennsylvania Avenue at Shake and Bake and is investing in the athletic fields at the Robert C. Marshall Rec Center. So we think this is an appealing site. And again, you get to see where this one is. And the metro station being right next door is helpful. Our next site is Dr. Rayner Brown. This is 3.7 acres on Chase Street here in East Baltimore. Building is being demolished or has been substantially, or will be demolished this summer through Project Core. This would be a scrape site ready for development. It's adjacent to the old Super Pride. You can see the train tracks there. And this one has anchors. And you just heard a little bit about what's happening over here, but you can see the Henderson Hopkins School is not far away, which is a fantastic new school built as part of the EBDI development project. And of course you see EBDI. This is just a few blocks from there. Next one is West Side, which is just under a 3-acre site on North Fulton in West Baltimore. The community, by and large, would like to see this building raised. They want to see some development there. This is not far from Reservoir Hill, just on the top end of the Penn North community, and not terribly far from Mondawmin Mall and Druid Hill Park, just a little bit off of North Avenue. This site is again, the community wants to see something happen there sooner rather than later. They do not want to see an empty building there, and they're willing to work with the developer. This is very close to a metro station as well, and when you go here you can get a sense of this one is almost the epicenter of all these activities when you've got Druid Hill Park, Mondawmin Mall, and the Penn North Metro Station, and the MCB project on North Avenue is not far away either. So you're looking at tens of millions of dollars in economic activity within about a half a mile of there. So this school site is sitting ready to go. Next one is the southeast building. This is a big site. It's nearly 10 acres with lots of open space and woods. It's located on Fayette Avenue on the eastern city-county line with great access to 95, which you can see, I believe, in that picture to the top left. Building is huge. Oh, no, I'm sorry, this is not a huge building, but it is surrounded by residential communities on the south and the east. To the west is a busy commercial area, and it's adjacent to Roma Sausage. And again, you can see where this site is, the new hotel there that is coming in, and industrial areas around it. But that site has very little constraints when you look at the amount of land you have there. And this is the biggie. I think somebody told me when it opened it was either the largest or second largest high school in the country. This is Lake Clifton High School. It is 45 acres in the middle of a park. It is 450,000 square feet, and you can see it was built with a whole bunch of wings and additions. It's unclear at this point whether adaptive reuse or demolition would be necessary there, but the site itself is certainly in a great location with lots of opportunity, and we think that this could be a great public-private partnership given the fact that it's situated in a major park. And again, you can take a look at all the amenities around there. A lot of residential development happening there with some significant investments being made by the state through CORE and by the city, the Department of Housing and Community Development all around there. You also have some stable nonprofits that support the area there, and a very active community association and a CDC led by Mark Washington that's in that community as well. But you can see where that school sits and all the activities around it. The fact that it sits in the middle of a park presents a very unique opportunity. The city has also invested in that community center to the south, so you get a sense of what's possible there. So that is the 8 sites we have for you today. As I mentioned, this is the first batch of properties that will be eventually surplused as the new schools come online and the school system vacates existing school buildings. We think that there are some unique opportunities here, which is why we've asked you to come together today. We're hoping that now that we're done with the brief presentation, that you'll spend some more time looking at each board, signing up if you want to learn more, asking questions. We have staff at each table that can answer some basic questions about what's going on in that community and what other assets that we didn't cover here. But we want you to be creative, and we want you to think of ways that you might be able to use these facilities. And then we, as I mentioned, we'll go through a public process to dispose of the buildings, just as we do with any public building that's going for sale. But we really want you to have the first opportunity as our valued partners in redevelopment in the city to see these sites and think creatively. So with that, I think we're going to turn it back into the individual tables unless anybody has a question or two. Dean?
You mentioned the RFP process. Once you sort of decide the direction that goes in, who would administer that process?
It's a great question. Dean asked who would administer the RFP process. My gut tells me that it will be a collaborative effort, and I don't think we have a we haven't determined who's going to.
It may vary for each school, HCD and BDC.
Yeah, I mean, it'll depend who has the capacity to do it at that time. Kim's running around saying not BDC, but it may be us.
There's the Surplus Schools website, so there will be a lot of information posted on that. All the information that's in this room today will be posted on that website, so you should monitor that website as well, because no matter who does the RFP, it'll be on that website.
Yeah, and if you've signed up to express interest, when the RFP does come out, we'll make certain that you're aware of that. And anybody who's signed up today, we'll make sure you're aware of every one of the RFPs as they come out. But please monitor that site. We just haven't decided yet. It's going to depend on our capacity in each agency as it comes. And each, BDC obviously does a lot of this stuff, so we're happy to help. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm just when you are expecting to release the RFP?
Well, some of these are probably ready to go because they're empty now. Some of them are not empty yet. So we'll be working through a process over the next couple of weeks to determine which are ready for an RFP process. My gut tells me that we could probably have a couple ready this summer.
I think so, and if, there's the tours to sign up, so if you have a specific interest, please make a point to sign up for the tour and get a better look, and we'll be scheduling those RFP releases probably in stages.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate everybody being here today.